is VADA Live, and welcome back. I'm your host, Dan Kerrigan, and joining us today, an amazing PhD-level educated guest, expert in a variety of fields, is Dr. John Coles, who is Vice President of Data Science and Analytics at ACV. Honestly, John, you need no introduction when we go to these segments. I know you are speaking out and about with the dealer and the community, leading expert in machine learning and vehicle valuation analytics. Also, more good news to share. Dr. Coles will be joining us at the VADA 26 convention in Virginia Beach. Call to register if you have not done so. John will be discussing how dealers can better understand the things called algorithms, shaping everything from pricing, inventory strategy, wholesale operations. Dr. Coles, welcome to VADA Live.
Dan, thank you so much for having me. It's so fun to get to talk with you, with our dealer communities out in Virginia and across the country. I'm so excited for the time today.
Speaking of the time, there's a lot going on in June. It's a busy month for everybody. What are you excited about with VADA 26? What made you say, I have to be there this year?
Yeah, so when I think about the last, 6-7 years coming out of COVID, and what's happening with lease returns, with this year's new uncertainty, I get excited about sitting down with our dealers and understanding where the value is right now. Because margin compression has been real over the last few years, returning to that new normal on margin, on turns, on new inventory. And so getting ahead of it as an industry and as dealers to make sure each car is well positioned for the right consumer is even more critical now than it's ever been.
What is that new normal, John, if we can dive right in there? I heard new normal, leasing, and everything else in between. What is that for dealers right now?
Yeah, I think that new normal is margin compression, a consumer that not only do they have less interest in engaging in the in-person experience unless it's awesome, but they have so many different ways where they're getting values, hard values on their car. Dealers have to position themselves as the way to delight and service their community in new ways. And I get so excited about thinking about creative ways that dealers can engage each consumer on their lot.
Any creative things that come to mind that dealers have shared have been successful, your experience? We love examples.
Yeah, in this age of, and we'll talk about AI, chatbots, machine learning. Yeah. In this age of AI and machine learning, if you talk to and text with a real person, your understanding of that consumer's experience is so much better. Like that real personal engagement and the speed to person is something that I know myself, my friends, our community, they're looking for that real person engagement versus another depersonalized experience.
So where does AI come into play? Biggest buzzword in the business and others. As from your perspective, where are dealers seeing the real value, and where is that tough sweet spot between the personal end of things you had mentioned and the tech support side?
Yeah, I think where dealers are seeing that value is in identifying and automating alerts, processes, back-end processes to support their dealership operation. If they introduce AI as a friction point between them and the customer on a theoretical efficiency play, I think they put that relationship at risk. Where maybe 3 years ago, it was super fun to have a chatbot that sort of gave you okay answers. Yeah. Right now, for me, it's all about speed to a human. And so I think when dealers position their tools, they've got to look at, how do I use it in my inventory management? How do I use it in my service drive? How do I use AI to set up a really good, real, eye-to-eye, person-to-person engagement with all the information teed up for a successful human interaction?
Had a couple conversations on AI, John. We've done a special series. That's the first time it may have been mentioned by an expert, though we've done a ton, but it really resonates with me, that speed to human engagement. I can see that. I can feel that in the dealerships. space. So you're with ACV, and with that, our viewers and listeners know that is a lot of data that you have on ACV. What's one trend in wholesale or inventory side of things that dealers may not fully appreciate yet? What are the numbers saying?
Yeah, so one of the things with being blessed with all this data is it can tell you all sorts of stories, and I think the narrative that dealers are seeing and that we've been able to equip dealers with is the value of a car so that they get to speed to decision, right? How do they, as quickly as possible, make a go, no-go decision on that individual asset? And so we've positioned our products, our services, our pricing to help a dealer with speed to decision and action. I think the week by week change in the geopolitical landscape, in gas prices, and getting ahead of it is something that it's not going away, Dan. I think we wake up each week wondering what is going to be slightly different today and how do I get ahead of it? That's where data is going to be even more critical through the summer and as we finish out this year.
And you've talked about multi-source information fusion. I believe that may be something brought up during your remarks at the convention. What does that mean in practice? It makes sense to me. We're bringing information together, having it work, sing in concert. Easier said than done, I know.
Yeah. When I think about multi-source information fusion, so I want to focus on the multi-source, right? Image data, your text interactions with a customer, your understanding of the macro valuation market, all of those pieces, so multiple sources of information have to come together. And so that's the fusion part of it. How do you take pieces of information? Maybe a consumer says, hey, I'm looking for a minivan. You look at the macro trends on it, and you see pictures of a car that you know may fit that person's profile. All of that needs to come together, all that information, and be fused to set up, like I said, that speed to human, that high quality interpersonal interaction.
Machine learning. It's interesting we're chatting at a point now where folks are familiar with it and has become really a key part in identifying vehicle condition, price accuracy, or risk. How much better is it now as a tool than it has been 5 years ago? See the value in talking about where we started with some of these things and where we are currently.
Yeah. So machine learning is an interesting one, right? Like Dan, we've chatted and I've been in the machine learning space for 15 years now. Like that is not a new technology. That change over the last 5 years in the machine learning space has really been about two things: data accessibility and speed of processing. Now, that's where machine learning continues to shine. Now, what's changed from an understanding perspective, and this is where it gets real exciting, dealers and consumers now don't have to read charts and readouts of machine learning. They can have a large language model explain what's happening, what are the factors, what do the weights mean. And so that explainability layer over the last couple of years, that's been a huge accelerant to a core technology that continues to be refined.
Makes sense to me, and appreciate that lesson, John. And it's an amazing reminder that 15 years machine learning's been around. That helps. And while it's everything nowadays, yes, it's been a minute. For dealers who successfully leverage data, what separates those who really do it well? And the counter argument for some is, of course, relying on instinct, how we've always done it. What's your take there?
Yeah, so, one of the things that we've been able to do with machine learning is speed to a high quality prediction. And we're talking about, 300 to 500 milliseconds in making a valuation prediction that's valid for the next week, wholesale, retail, what have you. That instinct piece, you're going out, you're gathering it, you're doing it. We've gotten to a point where that speed and repeatability is so critical in teeing up efficient dealership operations. And so it goes beyond just saying, oh, trust the data because the data will know more than you. It's about speed and repeatability for high quality customer interactions.
For dealers that are at that point where they're collecting the data without turning it into operational decisions or actions, any insights you can share?
Yeah, I would say keep collecting, right? Machine learning's built on historic data. So keep collecting and then run experiments. Work with partners. I mean, the new tooling in AI development with Claude Code and other capabilities, experiment with it, but keep collecting.
ACV operates online in a space that's historically built around physical auctions. This is very much a change management kind of question within a large organization. So talking about ACV side, what operational shifts have surprised you the most, knowing that you've been with the organization for a bit now?
Yeah, so I think, ACV, I think we're almost 11 years old now out of that startup competition. Anytime I have the privilege of talking about ACV's history and journey, I focus on the physical digital worlds being connected. And ACV is at that connection point. How do you take a physical asset, represent it in the digital world, and transact it? And so there's spaces that are more effective for just a pure digital play. Hey, we can show up, make a pure digital asset. But as you expand, especially in lease returns growing again through the next couple of years, you also just need space for cars to land. And so that's an area where even as we represent more and more of the physical world in that digital space, you've got to have a physical space to hold that inventory and move it well. And so that's kind of the evolution that has been a lot of fun, but I see it as part of our story as we continue to grow.
Going back to leasing, you had said lease returns growing again. What do you think that driver is?
I think you look back over the last 6 years of not normal. You can talk about, COVID supply chain disruption. You've got the chip shortage. Now you've had the aluminum plant fire with F-150s. Like we've run into repeated, black swan disruptive events over the last 6 years. And as we begin to see vehicles and more regular lease returns come back, it's going to slowly change the landscape to a new normal. Not going to say it's going to go straight back to pre-COVID. That we have this idea that we'll get back to the old normal. We're never going back to an old normal, but there is going to be a slow maturity towards that new normal again.
John, you'd worked in a variety of industries, which we love to ask about. We're concentrating on automotive, but thinking about it within the global business landscape. Oh my gosh, healthcare modeling, emergency management, counterterrorism research. How have those fields influenced how you think about automotive data and even risk analysis, as we mentioned, emergency management and the counterterrorism side of things?
Yeah. So, the things that my career thread has had in common, right? Data scattered all over the place with an urgent execution need to help people. And so when I think about each of those spaces, you've got emergency management, there's spreadsheets all over the place. You've got healthcare, there's different systems, records, images all over the place. Same thing for counterterrorism, automotive operations in a dealership. So many of the dealers really run their business off of spreadsheets and this G sheet over here, and you've got an IMS and a DMS and this, there's so much data scattered all over, but the urgency to action because it impacts somebody's life in that moment, that's where there's such an exciting intersection for my career in each of those spaces.
Another personal question, John. I don't think this was on the list that I put together going
That's
in.
okay.
We love curveballs, but one thing that we've been asking folks on VADA Live, given all their background, in your case, John, various industries, but also automotive, and you had mentioned the speed to a personal interaction. Long way of asking, when you walk into a dealership, maybe even your latest car buying experience, what do you look for and what makes you say, wow, this dealership is successful? As a consumer, what is that?
Oh man, I love this question. So my colleagues know this. My wife and I are huge minivan fans. We just got a new Honda Odyssey late last year. And the thing that I look for as a consumer when I walk in is zero surprises on a cost side. If you hit me with a new warranty, you're going to talk to your manager. If there's any surprises that feel like along the journey, you didn't give information to me because you were baiting me into the store, I'm out. And so I had a tremendous experience with a local dealership. We went back and forth by text and nailed all the details because other stores said, hey, come in, we'll see what we can do. I said, absolutely not. Here's my out the door price. Either we nail it on this text or I'm not coming in. So that for me is critical. No surprises. I come in with a certified check. If you've got new stuff when I get there, we're done.
Even if it's the perfect vehicle, you're okay on price. Any surprise and you're out the door?
That's right. Yeah. Time is valuable. I mean, it's one of the few assets we can never get more of. I've got 3 kids. If I walk into a store and I'm expecting to leave in an hour and it's 3 hours, I'm never coming back.
Have you run into instances sharing this with others that feel the same way? It's a very straightforward approach.
I have, but I also think like it takes a level of fortitude to disappoint somebody live, right? That's one of the challenges, and our industry does a great job of understanding and caring for people, but people don't like disappointing others when they're in person. And so there's a level of patience to say, no, I agreed to this before. I'm leaving in 30 minutes. We get it done or we're not. And it's a little bit jarring to some people, but I love the people we've gotten to work with, and in my local dealership's been great.
John, I'm going to take this question and run with it and ask you
from
the service side, what type of customer, what are you looking for there?
Service side, honestly, I'm looking for transparency in that process. I want to know, look, if you're going to tell me I need a new air filter, I need new brakes, I need new tires, like, show me that you did measurements. Don't just tell me a long story. And so, some of the things we've done at ACV and service drive integration, our Viper and virtual lift products, like, part of why I get so excited there is it levels the playing field for a really productive point-by-point conversation, right? What is it we're talking about? Okay, air filter. The reason that's an effective upsell, they show it to you. Now, tire, tread depth, brakes, they're not going to walk you through the service bay, but if they have high quality pictures to say, here's what we're talking about, here's why I think you need new brakes. Okay, as long as there's data to back the decision and conversation, works for me.
John, as one final question, if you were speaking to a dealer principal today, one-on-one, say you're grabbing coffee, VADA Live, we love that practical, pragmatic, really tangible advice. What's one change? Say they're grappling with too much data, not enough data, various concerns or situations they can have. Over the next 12 months, what would your recommendation be to them? Just have a more data-driven approach. It may be a way of saying, what's that first step for someone struggling?
Yeah. So the thing that is so critical anytime we're implementing new data-driven tools, software, do you have champions that are really bought into 1 or 2 systems that can lead the journey with you? If you don't have that champion mindset and you're just lobbing more and more software, people are naturally change averse. So finding one or two champions and aligning the incentives that you have as a business with the incentives of your teammate and run with it with those 2 or 3 people. Take that focused approach. If you lob 9 software solutions in and see what works and sort of train your teammates, I'll give you a hint. None of them will work.
Fleshing that out a little bit.
Yeah.
How can dealers consider the software? Commonsensical, not to go when you're talking about change management, making sure something sticks when you implement it. How do dealers get down to that 2, in your opinion, or 3 that they should take on? Of course, there are various avenues they can go with support, software, from training to data. What is the thing they should have back in their mind to say, this is what I need?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and I've done some trainings with this for dealership groups, is it's got to fit in an operational process for a real step. So the closer you can get to this tool, this AI capability is going to change this part of a process, the better off you'll be. If there's hand waving involved and you say, this new tool, I'm sure somewhere over in service can get better, you're missing the point. But if you focus on this tool fits this process with this leader, and I see how it can change it, you have a clear path to success in using some of these tools.
John, really appreciate the insight and perspective you have been hearing from Dr. John Coles, who's Vice President of Data Science Analytics at ACV. Be sure to catch him at VADA 26 convention June 22nd through the 25th at the Marriott Virginia Beach Oceanfront Resort. And we thank you for watching VADA Live. I'm your host, Dan Kerrigan. We'll see you next time.